So everybody has their own process. I get all my stuff prepared before I start. I mix up any additives that I'm putting in there, such as kaolin clay, whatever my color is going to be, my fragrance oil, get it weighed out, and I have everything ready. I just mix a little bit of my oil in with some of these to kind of get it ready so it pours in easy, especially for the color. And I just set those aside for now because I'll split my batter a little bit. I just kind of do it in the order that I think I'm going to add things. And I make sure my area is kind of clean because I have in the past forgot to add, of course, the scent, so fragrance or essential oils, whatever you're using. I have made it all, looked over and saw it sitting there. So I try to keep everything organized. And I get my lye and my oils to a temperature that I prefer. Everybody's different. So, I mean, you can read up, you can watch other people, what they do. Some people will talk in detail about why they do what they do. I prefer to have my lye and my oils under 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's where I'm at now. I do different things. Sometimes I'll make the lye up way ahead of time and just let it sit somewhere in a safe place for it to cool down. And then I come back later and I melt down my hard oils, mix them in with my soft oils, and I just keep checking the temperatures. If I need to get something down a little quicker, I might put it in a cool water bath. So I did do that with the lye. You can also, if you're trying to do things a little quicker, you can use your freezer, put it in the freezer. You just always have to make sure you're very, very safe with how you're handling your lye water. You don't want anybody to have access to it. You don't want it somewhere where it can get bumped. Obviously, it's very caustic. So you want to take safety precautions with that. So I start out mixing my lye water into my oils. And I'm going to put all my safety stuff on. So I got my gloves, got my handy dandy scratched up safety glasses. Please do these things. They're very quick steps. You don't want something to splash up and hit you in the eye, especially lye water. So definitely take a minute to do these things. And then when I go to add my lye, I do pour it on something just to help keep it from splashing too much. And I just start pouring it into my oils. So I'm just pouring it onto here, down close, so that it doesn't splash real hard. I'm gonna get all that poured in. And then I set this in my sink so that nothing will come into contact with anything that might be left over in the container. I will stir a little bit. And you'll see it'll start changing colors. And I will get my handy dandy immersion blender plugged in. Burp it a little bit to get any air out of it because you don't want to mix a bunch of air into your oils and you'll have a ton of air bubbles. And then I just start blending. You kind of give it a break, just hand stir a little bit. Like I said, this is my technique. Everybody's different on how long they do this, but you will probably want an immersion blender or it will take you forever to incorporate the lye and the oils. This will take me a couple minutes maybe. Once I start getting close to trace, which trace is just the thickness and kind of how you can see it trace across. So this is a very light trace right now. And I'm not seeing any more oils, not mixed in real well. I'll go ahead and add some of my other ingredients that are going into the whole batch. little stir, get it mixed up a little bit. Give it a few pulses. If you have something that traces really fast, so like if you go ahead and put your essential oil or your fragrance oil in and it thickens really fast, and you know that's going to happen, I've found using a whisk to mix those things in helps slow it a little bit. The immersion blender will increase how quickly you get to a trace and then a thick trace, and then of course if you're trying to do anything intricate like different pours, it's gonna make a challenge for you because it's gonna thicken up so fast. So at this point I haven't added my fragrance. I tend to do that as I'm getting ready to pour into my molds, just in case it is a fragrance that accelerates. This one has some floral scents to it, so my experience has been the florals can thicken pretty quick, go to trace pretty quick, so I tend to add those right before I'm ready to mix. So now I'm going to split some of this out for my orange color. I'll actually switch gloves really quick so it's a little more manageable, and I just use these small black non-latex gloves just so I have a little better control than the big heavy thick gloves. Pour in as much as I think I'm wanting for the orange, which I just want a little bit of orange throughout here, so I'm not going to do a ton. It's mainly going to be my base. And I'll set that to the side. I'll get one of my molds. I do have it kind of marked, so I generally know where the cuts are going to be in case I'm wanting to put stuff on there. Then I will go ahead and mix my other ingredient in there. This will lighten it up a little bit, not a ton. This isn't going to be a white soap. I don't do any of my soaps with the real white soap as we've gotten used to with commercial soaps, but this will lighten it up considerably. It also helps if you are doing something that has a vanillin in it, or vanilla, because that does tend to darken your soap. And this is just zinc oxide is all this is, so you find it in a lot of cosmetics, you find it in like baby cream, stuff like that. It's really great for the skin. So I love using it because of that, as well as the fact that it will also lighten my soap base a little bit. So again, air bubbles out. Just going to hit it a little bit to fully incorporate. See how much lighter it starts getting. And then as it cures, it will also lighten up. Ooh, throwing stuff around. All right. I've also never spoken on one of my videos. This is my first. So I probably sound a little nervous by talking a little fast, but I'm also trying to be conscious of how long the video is because nobody wants to watch a 2-hour video. So once you've got that incorporated, you're ready to pour your base in. Fragrance oil. So I add the majority of it into the larger amount, and then I just hold back what I want to use over here with my color. And this is where I will use my whisk, because I don't know what this fragrance oil is going to do. I've never used it. Just want to get it all mixed in well so it's even throughout your soap. I'm going to pour onto something, so in this case this little spatula, just to help keep the bubbles at a minimum so it doesn't get a ton of air bubbles in it, and maybe help get out any air bubbles I might have put in. I will just pour most of it in. I do not plan my designs. I'm horrible at it. Planning part of it. I just kind of wing it as I go. I don't know if that's the advice I would take from me, but that's how I kind of roll. So I'm going to mix some of my color in. I didn't do all of it. I'm not sure that I need all of it. I'm also going to mix the rest of my fragrance in. And get it stirred up. There's no particular order. You can mix your fragrance in first, then add your color, vice versa, however you want to do it. So I think that is a nice light orange, which is kind of what I'm looking for. So in this case, I just want a random kind of swirl in here. So I'm going to put some of it in here now. The higher up you go, the deeper it'll penetrate the base. The lower you get, and the more you pour, so you just play with it. See what you like. I won't be using all of it because I also have a little, my travel sample that I'm also going to make. So I'm going to quickly go ahead and add my base into there so I don't forget. I'll go ahead and add some of this in. And then I have a coat hanger. I also have just one of these ties that is very flexible that I can use to make kind of swirls down in there. You can buy stuff that's meant for this. You can use your own thing. Just make sure, you know, it's going to be safe for use in soap. And I will use the little coat hanger one for the other one because it's already set up for that size. I will come back to that guy. My gloves off a little bit. So this is just a wire coat hanger is all it is. This side I bent to fit in here. It will just do real fine lines, like feathered lines in there. And this side I bent so that I know it fits perfectly in here. I'll do quite a few more of these because this is so thin compared to the others. But you just kind of, this is where you get creative. You start playing. And then patience comes into play because then you got to wait for your soap to harden a little bit before you can cut it to see how it turned out. So now I'm going to go back. I'm going to put a little more of my base on the top. Like I said, this is just my preference. You can see how it's already thickening up. So once it starts doing that, you can see it gets more difficult to get a smooth pour. I'm just doing this so I have a little variation in the color when I swirl it. I'll do the same thing over here. How I determine my oils is, I mean, that just comes with a little bit of practice and knowing your molds, like how much oil do I need to make both of these. I learned both of these molds, what I like to fit in here, how many ounces of oil. And then I added those together and I did throw in an extra ounce just to be sure because I'd rather have a little extra than not enough. And I was able to determine how much I need to fill both of these. And that way I can make my sample travel soaps at the same time as I'm making my larger loaf. I could probably add an extra ounce in here, but usually this gets me pretty close. Just gonna smooth it out a little bit since it's so thick and it's not doing it on its own. You can also kind of tap it down, and this will also help to release any air bubbles you might have trapped. This little mold seems to get more. Same thing here. But there's a couple little air bubbles I see popping up. So that does help get them out. Now I'm just going to go back again, give this guy a little stir. You can see it's all thickening up. Because it's so thick, it's going to kind of stay to the top. So all things that, if you've planned out a design, these are all things you have to take into consideration. Just where if you have a plan for if it accelerates on you and thickens up faster than you would like. So you kind of know in the moment how you're going to react to that. Let's try that again without my alarm going off. I don't know if that'll sound will show up on the phone. If it does, I apologize. Just wanting me to take the trash out because I'm notorious for not remembering to take the trash out. And I also grab my neighbor's trash and take it out for her as well. So now I'm just going to hit this again, kind of swirl it. You can see on the uptake, I can bring some of that lighter color back up. Little things like know where you're going to set this when you're done. I just set it over in my sink so it's out of the way and not touching anything. Just same thing with this guy. It won't bring as much up, but it'll still bring some of that color up. If you kind of swirl, get it up there. With my samples, I'm not as worried as a travel soap. You don't see a ton of detail in it anyways, because they're so small. They're little 1 ounce bars. Again, I'm gonna pat it. I'm gonna try. Why not just do things you've never done new on the first time you've ever recorded? So for my larger one, I am gonna try and put some, so I have little molds that in the past I've made flowers with. So I thought it would be kind of cool to set some of these in here. No, I've never done this before. I'm not sure how this will work out. This is where it is handy to know kind of where your cuts are. They don't have to be perfect. I don't want them to be a full flower on there. But I would like to have a little control over that. This is where you get creative. Just do what you think would be cool. Hopefully I have enough flowers to do this. If not, I will be pausing the video to run downstairs and get some. Like I said, I've just made these with extra batter I've had. When I was first learning to get my oils down and kind of how I wanted them. Sometimes I would be way over on what I needed. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing this. Laying them in here. I need another little one here. Like I said, hopefully I have enough. Got one big leaf. Guess we could try that. Do another colored one. So I'll speed this up so you guys don't have to sit here and watch me do this whole thing, but just another thing to kind of keep in mind, molds, just anything that can take heat, really. I use like chocolate molds, I use fondue mold, or not fondue, fondant molds. Those work really well as also. So just finding things that you like. And out. For the little guy, I won't put anything on the top. They get sliced too small, there's no point in wasting this. I might give it a little texture, just using a chopstick. It's kind of my go-to. Like I said, these are all so small, you don't really see them. You can see how much this is thickened up already. So this is it. I'll let it sit for about 24 hours and then see if it wants to let go of the mold. It's not all sticking to the sides. The reason I have paper in here is this mold's wonderful. Like, this is a really thick mold. I got it off of Etsy. And you kind of, it's hard to get out because it's not as flexible as these. I push from the bottom, so you can kind of push it up, and the paper just helps it slide out a little better and keep the sides smooth, since I have to handle it so much heavier than this, which you can just kind of peel off. But yeah, that's how I'm gonna make these. I still have my glasses on. They smell great. It's a nice light floral scent. I believe this one is like a peach magnolia, which is why I kind of went with the peachy color. But hopefully this helped anybody who's curious. When I clean up, I try to put as little as possible down my sink. So I'll scrape all of these into my trash and get as much as I can out of it. Same thing with the color. I'll kind of take a paper towel and clean that out a little bit. And then I put everything in here with soapy water, just put all the utensils in there, and I let it sit until I'm ready to come back over and do something with it. But cleanup's pretty quick and easy if you keep everything organized, and you got enough space to work with. So I will come back and show you guys the cut once I cut it.